The Meridian Empire's survey vessel Eternal Dawn pierced the darkness at the edge of Sol's heliosphere, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. High Commander Ixara Vrel stood at her observation post, six-fingered hands clasped behind her back, watching holographic displays materialize around her. After 15,000 years of exploration and conquest, the Meridians had categorization of primitive species down to an exact science. Another backwater system, she murmured, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with faint disappointment. Begin standard assessment protocols. In her 3 centuries of service, she'd evaluated over 2,000 developing civilizations. None had ever surprised her. The humans, she assumed, would be no different. 12,000 kilometers below, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in her underground laboratory beneath the Atacama Desert, watching quantum probability clouds dance across her holographic display. The experiment she was about to attempt would either revolutionize humanity's understanding of space-time manipulation or blow a small crater in the Chilean desert. QKS initialization complete, her AI assistant AOIR announced. Quantum probability stabilization at 99.7%, ready for particle injection. Sarah took a deep breath, her fingers hovering over the control interface. Record everything, ARIA. If this works. Dr. Chen, a new voice interrupted. Admiral James Rivera's hologram materialized beside her workstation. We have company. Sarah's hands froze above the controls. They're here already. Intel said we had at least another month. Intel was wrong. Rivera's holographic form flickered with tension. A Meridian survey ship just dropped out of FTL at the system's edge. We've been monitoring their transmissions. They're already dismissing us as a Category D civilization. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Perfect. Above Earth, Commander Vrel reviewed the preliminary scans with growing disinterest. Primitive fission power plants, early-stage satellite networks, crude chemical rockets. Everything about this species screamed pre-spacefaring civilization. Send the standard classification report to Imperial Command, she ordered. Mark them as Category D, minimal monitoring required. Their quantum physics understanding is particularly primitive. They're still arguing about basic wave-particle duality. Her science officer, Tessara, began composing the report. But something in the data made her inner eyelids flutter with confusion. Commander, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures near the southern continent. Probably another crude fusion experiment, Vrel dismissed. These species all follow the same development pattern. Log it and move on. But in her laboratory, Sarah Chen was about to shatter those expectations. AOIA, initiate Ghost Protocol across all facilities. Let's show our visitors exactly what they expect to see. Across Earth's solar system, humanity's true technological achievements began disappearing behind quantum probability veils, a technology the Meridians believed impossible for another 1,000 years of development. Research stations throughout the asteroid belt, advanced manufacturing facilities on Mars, and the massive shipyards hidden in Jupiter's orbit all vanished from conventional detection. Admiral Rivera's hologram nodded in approval. How long can we maintain the deception? As long as we need to, Sarah replied, her hands dancing across the quantum interface. The beauty of probability manipulation is that they'll see exactly what they expect. A primitive species stumbling toward the stars. They won't even think to look for what they believe impossible. In orbit, Commander Vrel was preparing to depart. Log standard observation protocols. Next survey ship can check on them in 50 years when they've maybe managed to reach their moon. Tessara hesitated before filing her report. Those energy signatures, something about them defied conventional analysis. But questioning a superior's judgment over such a primitive species would be career suicide. She filed the report as ordered. The Eternal Dawn disappeared in a flash of FTL energy, its crew confident in their assessment of humanity's capabilities. They never noticed the quantum encrypted transmission that pulsed out from Earth moments after their departure, reaching hidden facilities throughout the solar system. Phase 1 complete. Begin full production. Operation Underdog is now active. In her lab, Sarah Chen finally initiated her quantum experiment. As probability clouds collapsed into a perfect pattern of interference, she allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Meridians' dismissal of humanity would be their greatest mistake, and humanity's greatest advantage. "OIA," she commanded, "send word to all facilities. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you underestimate human ingenuity." Throughout the solar system, massive fabrication facilities hummed to life, hidden behind veils of quantum deception. The Meridians believed they were observing a primitive species taking its first steps into space. Instead, they had just ignored humanity's final preparations for its debut on the galactic stage. Admiral Rivera's hologram smiled grimly. "How long until the prototype fleet is ready?" Sarah checked her calculations. 6 months. Maybe less if we push the quantum forges to maximum capacity. "Make it 4 months, Rivera ordered. "Intelligence suggests the Meridians are planning something big in this sector. We need to be ready." "Understood." Sarah turned back to her quantum interface, where probability clouds danced with ever-increasing complexity. "They think we're primitives arguing about wave-particle duality. Wait until they see what we've done with quantum entanglement." As the Eternal Dawn vanished into FTL, humanity's hidden preparations accelerated. The Meridians' arrogance would be their undoing, and humanity's greatest weapon was not the technology they were building, but the fact that no one believed they could build it at all. The game of deception had begun, and in 4 months, the galaxy would learn a valuable lesson about underestimating the ingenuity, determination, and sheer audacity of the human species. In the vast darkness between Mars and Jupiter, quantum forges pulsed with impossible energy, building ships that shouldn't exist. And Sarah Chen smiled, knowing that humanity's greatest advantage was the very thing that made the Meridians dismiss them. Nobody expects the impossible, but humans made impossible their specialty. The dawn of a new era approached, and this time, humanity would write the rules of first contact. The Silent Forge. Deep within the asteroid belt, where twisted chunks of primordial rock cast ever-shifting shadows, humanity's future took shape in absolute secrecy. The Quantum Forge Complex, Vulcan's hammer, stretched for kilometers through the hollowed-out heart of Ceres, its existence hidden behind layers of probability manipulation that made it appear as nothing more than another lifeless rock to outside observers. Admiral Rivera stood in the central control hub, watching through armored windows as automated construction systems assembled what shouldn't be possible. The prototype vessel Prometheus hung in the vast chamber, its hull composed of quantum-stabilized materials that could shift between states of matter at will. "Status report," he commanded, his voice tight with contained tension. Colonel Maria Santos, his head of operations, brought up a holographic display. "We're at 67% completion on the Prometheus, sir. Dr. Chen's latest quantum core modifications have exceeded all expectations. The ship can now generate probability fields strong enough to make itself forget it exists." Rivera allowed himself a small smile. Now that's a stealth system the Meridians won't see coming. "Assuming it works as intended," a familiar voice added. Sarah Chen's hologram materialized beside them, her avatar flickering with quantum static. Theory and practice are still fighting each other on some of these systems. The massive construction bay hummed with energy as robotic assemblers continued their work on the Prometheus. Its hull seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury, a side effect of the quantum uncertainty fields that made up its outer layer. "The latest intelligence from our deep space probes is concerning," Rivera said, pulling up another holographic display. "The Meridians aren't just dismissive of us, they're planning to use our system as a staging area for their fleet movements. They think we're too primitive to notice or object." Sarah's hologram nodded grimly. "Perfect. That gives us the ideal test scenario for the Prometheus once it's ready. How many ships are they planning to bring? Current estimates suggest a flotilla of about 30 vessels, mostly support craft for their larger capital ships. They view this as a routine operation. Santos brought up the tactical analysis. They're not even bothering with combat-ready configurations. In the construction bay, the Prometheus's quantum core pulsed with impossible energy, its very existence a violation of what the Meridians believed possible for human technology. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement and their greatest gamble. The Ghost Protocol is holding, Sarah reported, checking readings from sensors throughout the solar system. Their observation posts continue to see exactly what we want them to see: primitive chemical rockets, basic satellites, and lots of pointless radio chatter about reality TV shows. Rivera studied the Prometheus's growing form and our other facilities. Mars shipyards are operating at maximum capacity, hidden behind probability veils. Jupiter Station has completed the quantum torpedo production line. Venus. Well, what we've built inside Venus would give their physicists nightmares if they knew it was possible. The Admiral nodded, satisfaction evident in his stance, and the crew training. Progressing faster than expected, Santos replied. The neural interface systems are allowing our pilots to adapt to quantum probability navigation quickly. It helps that we recruited primarily from video game developers. They're already used to thinking in impossible geometries. Sarah's hologram flickered as she diverted more attention to an incoming data stream. We've just detected another Meridian scout ship entering the system. They're doing their routine checkup ahead of the fleet deployment. Let them look, Rivera said confidently. Show them exactly what they expect to see. How's the atmospheric light show coming along? Right on schedule, Sarah answered with a hint of pride. We're staging a failed fusion reactor test next week. Lots of impressive explosions, minimal actual damage, and exactly the kind of mistake they'd expect from a primitive species trying to master basic fusion technology. The Prometheus's quantum core flared suddenly, sending cascading waves of probability through its partially completed hull. For a moment, the massive ship seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, a visual demonstration of the technology that made it invisible to conventional detection. The hard part isn't building these ships, Sarah noted, her hologram gesturing toward the construction bay. The hard part is making it look like we can't build them at all. Every breakthrough has to be hidden, every advance masked behind a carefully orchestrated series of public failures. Rivera turned to face her directly. How much longer can we maintain the deception? Long enough, Sarah replied confidently. The Meridians' greatest weakness is their absolute certainty in their own superiority. They don't just think we're primitive, they know we are. And that certainty makes them blind. In the void of space, the Meridian scout ship conducted its cursory survey of the solar system. Its sensors detected exactly what they expected: primitive fission plants, basic satellite networks, and crude chemical rockets. The quantum probability veils worked perfectly, showing the Meridians a civilization barely reaching for the stars. They never noticed the massive energy signatures from the quantum forges hidden behind veils of manipulated probability. They didn't detect the fleet of ships taking shape in Mars orbit, their very existence masked by technology the Meridians believed impossible. And they certainly didn't realize that every transmission they sent was being intercepted, analyzed, and used to refine humanity's deception. 4 more weeks, Sarah announced, checking the Prometheus's completion timeline. 4 weeks until we can begin full systems testing. Rivera nodded, watching as another section of quantum-stabilized hull materialized on the prototype ship, and the Meridian fleet. Expected to arrive in 6 weeks, Santos confirmed. Their timing couldn't be better if we'd planned it ourselves. The Admiral's expression hardened with determination. Then we'll be ready. Humanity's first interstellar war will begin with them not even realizing we're capable of fighting it. Around them, the quantum forge continued its impossible work, building ships that defied the laws of physics as the Meridians understood them. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn that dismissing humanity as primitive had been their gravest mistake. The silent forge worked on, crafting humanity's response to an empire that thought them barely worth noticing. And in labs and hidden facilities throughout the solar system, humans continued doing what they did best, achieving the impossible through sheer determination, ingenuity, and the unshakable belief that impossible was just another word for hasn't been done yet. Deception's dance. The Meridian observation post vigilant eye hung in the shadow of Saturn's rings, its crystalline sensors focused on the inner solar system. Senior observer Karis Nix watched the primitive human transmissions with growing boredom. Another failed attempt at fusion power had just lit up their atmosphere, the third this month. Remarkably persistent for primitives, her assistant noted, logging the incident. Remarkably foolish, Karis corrected. They'll likely destroy themselves before achieving basic spacefaring status. Neither noticed the quantum-shifted ghost signal that pulsed through their sensor network, carrying encrypted data about their every observation back to Earth. In the Atacama facility, Sarah Chen studied the Meridian chatter with satisfaction. They're still buying it. Every failed test, every public setback, they're loving it all as evidence of our technological inadequacy. Admiral Rivera's hologram nodded approvingly. And the Prometheus. Ready for its first full systems test, Sarah replied, bringing up a secure feed from Ceres. We're just waiting for the Meridian's regular sensor sweep to complete. Once their attention is focused on the Jupiter sector, we'll have a 6-hour window. The Prometheus hung in its construction dock, its quantum-stabilized hull now complete. The vessel defied conventional classification, neither cruiser nor destroyer, but something entirely new. Its very existence represented humanity's greatest technological leap, the ability to manipulate quantum probability fields on a massive scale. Colonel Santos materialized in the holographic conference. Test crew is aboard and ready. All quantum systems are nominal. Ghost Protocol is maintaining full coverage across the solar system. Begin the test sequence, Rivera ordered. Deep within the asteroid belt, the Prometheus's quantum core hummed to life. Probability fields cascaded across its hull, causing it to shift between states of matter like a mirage in desert heat. The ship didn't just become invisible, it became mathematically impossible according to the Meridian's understanding of physics. Quantum drive engaging, the test pilot reported, her voice steady despite the historical significance of the moment. Probability field stabilization at 99.9%. We are effectively non-existent. Sarah watched the data streams with intense focus. Beautiful. They've achieved perfect quantum desynchronization. According to every possible form of detection, that ship simply isn't there. The Prometheus began to move, accelerating through layers of probability that shouldn't exist. It wasn't just undetectable, it was operating in a state of reality that the Meridians believed impossible to achieve. Beginning weapons test, Santos announced, targeting the prepared asteroid cluster. The quantum torpedoes launched silently, each one existing in multiple states simultaneously until impact. When they struck, the asteroids didn't explode, they simply ceased to exist, their very probability of being erased from space-time. By all the stars, Rivera breathed, watching the display. It actually works. Better than we hoped, Sarah confirmed. The quantum probability manipulation is perfect. The Meridians won't just fail to detect these weapons. Their sensors will actively refuse to acknowledge their existence. You can't defend against something your entire understanding of physics says cannot be real. In orbit around Saturn, the Meridian observers continued their routine survey, completely unaware of the test occurring in the asteroid belt. Their sensors swept past the Prometheus multiple times, each time failing to register anything unusual. The quantum probability field didn't just hide the ship, it made the Meridian's own sensors convince them that nothing could possibly be there. Fleet status, Rivera asked, turning to Santos. Production is ahead of schedule. We'll have 5 more vessels ready before the Meridian fleet arrives. Not enough for a direct confrontation, but we won't need direct confrontation, Sarah finished. Not when we can rewrite the rules of engagement itself. A priority alert flashed across their displays. Sarah's expression tightened. The Meridian fleet has accelerated its timeline. They'll be here in 3 days. 3 days, Rivera frowned. That's well ahead of schedule. Why? Sarah pulled up the intercepted communications. They're running from something. There's mention of the darkness between in their transmissions. Whatever it is, they're planning to use our system as a refuge while they repair and resupply. Perfect. Rivera's hologram smiled grimly. They'll be distracted, their guard down, and they'll have no choice but to stay in system long enough for us to implement the final phase. The Prometheus completed its test run, returning to its quantum-shifted dock in Ceres. The test crew was jubilant. Humanity's greatest technological achievement had exceeded all expectations. Begin full combat drilling, Rivera ordered. I want those crews ready for actual combat conditions in 3 days. Already on it, Santos confirmed. The neural interface systems are allowing for accelerated training. Our pilots are adapting to quantum probability navigation like they were born to it. Sarah studied the incoming Meridian fleet data with growing intensity. They're bringing their biggest ships, carriers, dreadnoughts, vessels that literally reshape space to move, and they think they're coming to a safe harbor, a primitive system where they can hide and repair. Instead, they're walking into humanity's first demonstration of quantum warfare, Rivera noted. How fitting that their own arrogance delivers them right into our hands. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden preparations approached their culmination. The quantum forges worked at maximum capacity, crews trained in impossible physics, and the Ghost Protocol maintained its perfect deception. In 3 days, the Meridian Empire would learn the true cost of dismissing humanity as primitive. They thought they were seeking refuge in a backwater system. Instead, they were about to become the first victims of a technological revolution they didn't believe possible. The stage was set. Humanity's moment of emergence approached. And in labs and hidden bases throughout the solar system, the final preparations began for a demonstration of power that would shatter the Meridian Empire's understanding of what humanity could achieve. The dance of deception was ending. The dance of destruction was about to begin. Pride before the fall. The Meridian battle fleet emerged from hyperspace in a cascade of fractured light, 37 ships strong. Their massive forms cast long shadows across the solar system as they decelerated near Jupiter's orbit. The flagship, Imperial Dawn dwarfed its escorts, its crystalline hull spanning nearly 5 kilometers of engineered perfection. Fleet Commander Theros stood on his command deck, mandibles clicking in irritation. Status of the pursuit. No signs of the Void Hunters, Commander, his tactical officer reported. The primitive nature of this system should mask our energy signatures effectively. Theros' inner eyelids flickered with satisfaction. Even if their mysterious pursuers trapped them here, the presence of a pre-spacefaring civilization would prevent any major combat. The conventions of interstellar warfare were clear. Primitive species were to be protected from advanced conflicts. On Earth, in the quantum-shielded command center beneath the Atacama, Admiral Rivera watched the Meridian fleet's arrival with predatory focus. All ships, maintain quantum silence. Let them settle into position. The Prometheus and its 5 sister ships hung in the void, their quantum probability fields making them less than invisible, making them impossible. Each vessel represented a different approach to humanity's mastery of quantum mechanics. The Prometheus could shift between states of reality. The Hyperion could exist in multiple locations simultaneously. The Orion carried weapons that didn't so much destroy targets as retroactively ensure they had never existed. They're beginning to deploy repair drones, Sarah reported, monitoring the quantum-encrypted feeds. Whatever was chasing them did significant damage to their secondary systems. Rivera nodded, and their pursuers. Long-range quantum sensors detect the Prometheus shifted through quantum states, appearing simultaneously at 6 different locations around the Meridian fleet. Its quantum weapons spoke again, each shot removing another target from existence. This is Admiral James Rivera of the Earth Defense Force. Rivera's transmission cut through the Meridian command channels. Your arrogance in dismissing humanity as primitive has led you to this moment. Surrender now, or witness firsthand what humanity is truly capable of. On the Imperial Dawn's command deck, Theros' scales paled with shock. Impossible. This system is pre-spacefaring. Their technology is primitive. No, Rivera's voice carried cold satisfaction. We simply let you believe that. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our quantum technology, it was your certainty that we couldn't possess it. The Hyperion appeared, split across multiple probability states, its weapons targeting the Meridian flagship from angles that shouldn't exist. The Orion emerged from its quantum shift, its very presence causing reality to shudder around it. Sir, Santa's voice cut through the command channel. The Void Hunters have accelerated. They'll be here in hours, not days. Rivera's expression remained stern. Good. Commander Theros, you now face a choice. Surrender to us and accept our protection, or face both humanity's quantum fleet and whatever horrors follow you through the void. On the Imperial Dawn Theros watched in disbelief as human vessels appeared and disappeared around his fleet, moving through space in ways that violated every principle of physics he understood. His mighty fleet, pride of the Meridian Empire, was being systematically dismantled by a species they had dismissed as barely sapient. How, he demanded, how did you achieve this level of technology without us noticing? Sarachen's voice joined the transmission. Because you saw what you expected to see. Your certainty in your own superiority made you blind. While you watched our failed fusion tests and primitive rockets, we were mastering the quantum realm itself. Another Meridian vessel vanished, erased from probability by weapons that shouldn't exist. The mighty fleet that had entered the solar system was being reduced to scattered, panicked ships trying to comprehend how they were being defeated by an impossible enemy. Your empire's greatest mistake, Rivera continued, was believing that humanity would develop along the same technological path as every other species. Instead, we took one look at your physics and decided to rewrite it entirely. The Prometheus shifted again, its quantum fields allowing it to exist everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. More Meridian ships vanished, removed from reality by weapons that ignored traditional concepts of space and time. Theros, watching his fleet disappear ship by ship, finally understood the true magnitude of the Meridian Empire's mistake. They hadn't discovered a primitive civilization, they had ignored an emerging superpower. And now, that power was demonstrating just how costly that ignorance would be. The pride of the Meridian Empire was about to fall, and humanity's rise would reshape the galaxy in ways no one had imagined possible. A new dawn. The remains of the Meridian fleet hung motionless against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling storms. Of the 37 ships that had arrived in humanity's solar system, only 12 remained, including the massive flagship Imperial Dawn *. The others hadn't been destroyed. They had been erased from probability itself, their very existence retroactively negated by weapons that shouldn't have been possible. Commander Theros stood on his command deck, mandibles trembling with a mixture of fear and awe as he watched the human quantum ships phase in and out of reality around his surviving vessels. The Prometheus, humanity's prototype vessel, seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, its hull rippling with possibilities that defied conventional physics. Your surrender is acknowledged. Admiral Rivera's voice carried a note of satisfaction. Now, about these void hunters pursuing you. As if summoned by the words, long-range sensors detected new signatures approaching the solar system. The void between stars seemed to ripple and tear as massive shapes emerged from hyperspace, ships of impossible age, their designs predating the Meridian Empire itself. "They're here," Sarah Chen's voice was tight with anticipation. "Quantum analysis confirms these vessels are operating on principles even more advanced than our current technology. They're not just manipulating probability, they're rewriting causality itself." The Void Hunter's fleet emerged fully into normal space, 15 vessels of ancient design, their hulls covered in patterns that hurt the mind to observe. They moved with impossible grace, ignoring conventional laws of physics as completely as humanity's quantum ships did. "Attention all vessels," a new voice echoed through all communication channels, its tone carrying the weight of eons. "This is Observer Eternal of the Precursor Defense Network. We have been tracking this sector for signs of quantum awakening. Humanity's achievement of probability manipulation validates our millennia of waiting." Rivera exchanged shocked glances with Sarah's hologram. "Precursors. The Meridian's historical records showed your civilization vanished 50,000 years ago." "We did not vanish," Observer Eternal replied. "We transcended. We have watched countless species develop, waiting for one to break free from conventional technological progression. Humanity is the first to achieve this in 49,000 years." On the Imperial Dawn Theros' scales had paled to an almost translucent white. The legends, the stories of the species that taught the galaxy to walk among stars, they're true. "Indeed, Young One," Observer Eternal's voice carried something like amusement. "Your empire's greatest failure was assuming all species must follow the same path of development. Humanity proved this assumption false. They looked at the conventional laws of physics and asked, what if we tried something else?" The precursor ships moved through space in ways that made even humanity's quantum vessels seem primitive by comparison. They didn't so much fly as rewrite reality around themselves, existing at their destinations before they began moving. Sarah's hologram flickered with excitement as she analyzed the precursor vessels. "Their technology, it's like looking at our future. Everything we've theorized about quantum mechanics, they've mastered and moved beyond. Humanity has earned its place among the stars," Observer Eternal declared. "Not through slow, methodical progression, but through the one quality we have waited millennia to observe, the ability to imagine impossible things and then achieve them anyway." Rivera straightened his uniform. "And the Meridian Empire?" "We'll learn from this lesson," Observer Eternal replied, "as all young species must. The galaxy is far larger and more complex than any one civilization's understanding of physics can encompass." Commander Theros stepped forward, his pride warring with his diplomatic training. "The Empire will not easily accept this change in the galaxy's power structure." "The Empire will adapt," Observer Eternal's tone left no room for argument, "or it will be left behind. The age of quantum awakening has begun. Humanity's achievement marks the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization." The Prometheus shifted through probability states, coming to rest alongside the precursor vessels. In that moment, the contrast was clear. Humanity's quantum ships represented the first steps toward the precursor's level of advancement, but those steps had been taken in years rather than millennia. "We offer humanity full access to our knowledge bases," Observer Eternal announced. "Your species has demonstrated the potential we have waited so long to find. The galaxy's future will be shaped by those who dare to imagine new possibilities." Sarah's hologram practically vibrated with excitement. "Admiral, the scientific implications alone, their understanding of quantum mechanics must be centuries beyond our current theories." Rivera nodded, but kept his focus on the diplomatic situation. "And what of the Meridian fleet, Observer?" "They will return to their empire with a message. The age of conventional physics is ending. A new era of possibility has begun. Humanity's achievement will spark a renaissance of quantum research across the galaxy. The Meridians can choose to be part of this future, or they can cling to their outdated understanding and fade into irrelevance." Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden quantum facilities began deactivating their probability veils. Research stations, shipyards, and manufacturing complexes shimmered into view as the Ghost Protocol was lifted. The full extent of human achievement became visible for the first time, showing just how completely the Meridians had underestimated Earth's capabilities. "I understand now," Theros said quietly, watching as more human quantum ships emerged from their probability fields. "We didn't discover a primitive civilization. We witnessed the birth of a new era in galactic history." "Correct," Observer Eternal confirmed. Humanity's greatest achievement wasn't mastering quantum mechanics. It was proving that the impossible is merely the improbable viewed from a different angle of probability. The solar system hummed with activity as humanity's true technological level was revealed. The age of deception was over. The age of quantum awakening had begun, and humanity, the species that had been dismissed as primitive, would lead the galaxy into a future where the laws of physics themselves were mere suggestions rather than absolute rules. In her lab beneath the Atacama, Sarah Chen smiled as she began downloading the first fragments of precursor knowledge. The future stretched before humanity like an infinite field of probability, filled with possibilities that even they hadn't imagined yet. The galaxy would never be the same. And it all began because one species looked at the impossible and said, "Let's try it anyway."